Wilfrido, I'm super excited to welcome you on the podcast because you have so much experience with AWS. First, as the community leader, you organized different events, even in Slovakia, where I'm based, which is super cool. And you also joined AWS, right? So we are going to talk about your experience running of the community events, being in touch with other AWS experts, and also we will talk about the AWS cloud itself. What are the different IT roles? So thanks for joining. Welcome on the podcast.
Perfect. Thank you. No, I would really like to thank you for the invitation. Is going to be a great conversation, and as you already mentioned, right? So I've been very involved in the community organizing, but mainly one of my goals is to enable the community, right? So basically, is about training, is about understanding, is about not having any type of fear from cloud computing. And I'm a big enthusiast of cloud computing. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. And since you work in AWS, I guess we also need to disclaim that that you are, an employee, and probably there is some legal stuff that we need to cover, right?
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, we have a disclaimer statement that I have to make, and it's also a forward-looking statement that I have to make. So let's start with the disclaimer really quick. The opinions and anything that I'm going to say during this podcast are my own opinions, and they do not represent in any way, shape, or form the opinions of my employer, which in this case is Amazon Web Services, right? AWS, as we mentioned. And for the forward-looking statement, that just means that please do not use any of my statements during this conversation to think or influence or change your stock options in the future, right? So don't buy or sell or anything like that based on whatever I'm going to tell you. All right, thank you.
Awesome,
That's it.
great. Thanks for the disclaimer. So now we can dive deeper to the community and the cloud itself. So why don't we start with the community? I already mentioned that you were running some of the community events here in Slovakia because your wife actually comes from Slovakia, right? It's just so cool that you also speak Slovak language. So before we kicked it off today, we were chatting in Slovak. So that's super cool. But tell us a bit more about the events. Tell us more about what it is like in Slovakia. Where can people meet each other?
Right, that's correct. So that's a very I think important topic at this time for Slovakia. So when I joined AWS, a couple of years back, I realized that the users group, the AWS users group in Slovakia, was kind of neglected. So I took over the group, and I started running the events, trying to make it like at least once every 3 months. So please go ahead. I don't know if we can make the promo or not, but Meetup, right? Meetup.com. So you go to meetup.com, have a look, find the AWS user group. We have two now. When I started, we had only one, so we have two now. One in Bratislava and one in Košice. Right. It's very important to engage in these groups, especially if you have any type of interest in AWS technology. You will get to know some of the companies, you will get to know some of the recruiters, right? There is a lot of networking. These events are always made in a way that you have like an hour or so of some very interesting topics in terms of AWS, and then at least an hour of networking or more after the lectures.
That's so cool. And you just mentioned recruiters, and a lot of the listeners of this podcast, they are very likely to be recruiters as well. So based on your experience running these groups and meeting recruiters during those events, how does it actually work? I mean, there are recruiters out there who join these meetups, right? But what do they do? Like, for some people, it may be quite distant. Usually people are just messaging on LinkedIn and they don't join these meetups. So what is it like from your perspective, for example?
From the inside, right? From the inside
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
So it goes two ways. So you can just join as a recruiter, join the meetup and go in person. These meetups are intended to be in person, right? So most of the times, only during the pandemic we did online. So and we have some other recruiters that they really engage in trying to sponsor some of those meetups that we do, right? So they help with with the food, or they help with their organization, right? They help promoting the events, and then they have access to these people, right? They have access to one-on-one talks. They get to know the people that are lecturing. They get to know the people that are attending, and that's the base for the community, right? Because there is a specific interest on the AWS technology, AWS cloud, and then people will just gravitate towards each other.
Mhm. Interesting. I think also from the recruiter standpoint, they may feel a bit insecure and may wonder whether they should disclaim that they are recruiters, right? Because often they, maybe hiding rather, and not, not exposed that they are there to recruit people. So from your experience, is it better just to be clear upfront and say like, hey guys, I'm a recruiter. I'm here to get some of you to join a project of ours or of a client, or is it better just to kind of look for other ways how to engage with people in the background?
Right. I believe the transparency is key, right? So in this case, these recruiters they will never hiding, right? The ones that attended or the ones that were organizing the meetups, they will be out there. I am a recruiter. I work on this space or this in this industries, and then let's have a conversation, right? And the conversation could be about technology, right? Some of those recruiters are well versed on different topics of technology. They also know how to do the interviews, right? So obviously they understand a lot of the the areas, the domain subject areas that you're supposed to be talking about. And it's interesting because also as a recruiter, they can gauge if that person is a good technical resource or not, right? So it goes both ways. At that moment, you are really like in interview mode. I don't want to call it like that, but yes, it's very close to interview mode. And it's very interesting. It's a nice atmosphere. It's a relaxed atmosphere, right? Most of the times, beer with some pizza and stuff like that. For the networking part. On nice locations, including, for example, the Faculty of Information Technologies in Bratislava, right? Or, for example, in Košice, we also arranged that to be done at the IBM building in Košice, for example, right? So, which was a very interesting venue for many people, right? To get to really see inside of the building and inside of the offices.
Awesome. And from your experience or from your kind of standpoint of a community organizer, would you say you rather welcome those recruiting companies or individuals, or are you trying to kind of find ways how to organize the events without those recruiters being present?
I think recruiters are key. They have to be there. Is good for the audience. Is good for them as well. I'm not reluctant to trying to filter and trying to make these events only about technology, right? They are networking. People are really looking into what roles are out there. They want to have some sort of career mobility as well. So I think benefits both sides.
This is very interesting. Now, when you say it, it totally makes sense. But for some reason, back in my mind, it was kind of stored the other way, as if people who are recruiters were not welcome during those events. So I hope recruiters who are listening to your your insights now will also change their mind, and they will start attending those events, which for a lot of people could be a step out of the comfort zone. But as you say, they are welcome. So great.
They're totally welcome. Maybe it is regional as well, right? From my experience within the United States, I have been traveling to these big events like reInvent or some other events, IT related, and there is always recruiting going, always, right? So maybe that's is not that common in Europe, but certainly at our meetups is welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. You mentioned the in-person meetups. Are there also any online meetups that people who would like to build some relationships can join?
Right. Not at this moment. We don't have online meetups. The user groups are precisely now focusing in that aspect of the personal, the face-to-face contact. It was missing out there for a couple of years, and we need to go back to that. When it is online, my feeling is that you miss all that good networking side of it, right? Most of the people will just watch the lectures and leave, and that is not helping anyone.
Yeah, that's true. It's very transactional online. People just connect, disconnect, and they also multitask while they are listening or watching to those lessons. So it's a totally different experience. Okay, wonderful. What about some Slack groups or Discord channels? Like, are you personally a member of some other communities that contact or collect people with the same interest?
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of the community, right, and in this case, I will have to narrow this down to the Slovak community, not just IT, right? So I joined a very good group that is called Slovak Pro, and that's now a nationwide within the United States group, right? So we have now chapters of this group, all over the place within the United States. But I also joined some time ago another group that is called Slovak Global Network. It's sorry, SGN as an acronym, and that is again to bring people with the same type of interest together, right? People who want to help somehow the community, they want to help also the country, right? Slovakia. So this group also brings these people together as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. Well, it's just so cool to see these communities being formed and people meet each other also face to face. I think that was missing during the COVID times, so it's awesome. And now, if we kind of shift gears and look at also how can some other people not just join the community, but join the IT world. It was International Women's Day just last week. And in another setup, we were also discussing how can women join IT, join technology. So based on your experience now working with lots of different cloud engineers and solution architects and AWS specialists, what do you think are the best ways for people in general, but probably women especially, to join the IT world?
Right. So just jump out there, right? Jump into it. But let's delve into this a little bit more, right? I'm one of my big interests when I started, working for cloud companies was precisely the IDE or DEI or whatever you want to slice it or dice it, right? Which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So those initiatives are very close to my heart. Right? One, first of all, I have to comment this, right? I am a minority within the United States, right? So I am a Costa Rican American. So I'm a Latino, person or professional. And also, we all have either daughters or moms or aunts or grandmas. We all have women in our world, right? And that means that we should be also supporting and be also very eager to help with equity, with the equity piece of the entire equation. I think we need to do more. And for that, there are multiple avenues how you can really help bring more people with into cloud. As you mentioned, cloud is a very interesting paradigm because it offers the possibility of working remote, but also offers the possibility of starting, let's say, small and then grow into this, right? And let me explain what I mean. For example, if you really want to get into cloud, so AWS has a website that is called Skill Builder. So you can just Google it, and at Skill Builder, you will be able to access, I will say, hundreds of classes for free. Right, there is no need to pay for this, so it will give you a very good basis to start with your journey into AWS. Then, if you want to, really click it a notch on this, you can also do your certification, and the first certification is Cloud Practitioner. It's a very good certification because it brings everybody to the same level. You will be talking at, with the right concepts, the right terminology, and so basically, it's a leveling. What I will say is a leveling class or a leveling certification. And then after that, after a certification, you can move on to other certifications that you are interested in, right? So if you are interested in security, then you can go security databases and so on. Right? You understand how it goes. And we have also now a last one that is data engineer as well. So there is multiple avenues how you can move. But going back, how do I start, right? So then once you go through the skill builder process and perhaps you get your practitioner certification, there is also a very interesting game, right? So it's Cloud Quest. So if you are trying to get practice, labs and stuff like that for your certification for the practitioner, you can do the Cloud Quest game. It's game based, so that's what I like about it, and provides you with tasks. And those tasks, when you do those tasks, then takes you into the AWS infrastructure. You will be able to touch certain pieces, do certain things with the real infrastructure. So once you have gone through that process, then it's going to be easier for you to look into some other alternatives, right? For example, we have game days or we have immersion days that you can take. We have webinars as well as a Twitch channel and so on, right? So there are multiple things that you can use. However, one thing that I really want to bring to the attention of your audience as well is that there is a complete free tier layer within AWS. That means that you will be able to get your account and go and set up your infrastructure, and there's this very nice layer that is completely free.
That's awesome. I mean, there are so many opportunities now. I'm just taking some notes as you speak. With a skill builder, it sounds like a no-brainer to start, just to explore and to combine it with the free tier account where you can just spin off an EC2 or get some database for free. I mean, it's just crazy to think what kind of a world we live in, right? Which is not something that was possible 10 years ago, and now anyone can do it. However, also during the discussion last week during the International Women's Day kind of a conference about how can women enter the world of IT, one thing stood out, which was the insecurity and the fear of technology and the environment dominated by men. So now also women have all of these opportunities, skill builder, Cloud Quest, Twitch channel, webinars, but so now this may not be the problem anymore for a lot of them, but it would be rather the environment and the insecurity. Like based on your experience, have you seen any initiatives or any examples or any communities that were tackling this problem and rather kind of holding each other's hand and doing the learning together?
Yes, thank you. That's a great sequence on this, or sequel. In Slovakia, explicitly, right? So we have a group that is called IT by T, and I am one of the lecturers for that group. This is a non-for-profit organization, very well versed on teaching or enabling women of all ages. Right, they go from little girls or all the way to people who are basically changing careers, right, at that level, and they have all these classes. They have certain already established pathways for these women to study and to learn, and change the skills that they already have. Right. So I think that initiative is a great one. In the Czech Republic, we have Chiquitas in the Czech Republic as well, right? Which I'm not involved at that level, but with IT by T we are. Um, these initiatives is what is been moving, I would say, women in technology pretty much for the past 10 years. In the case of IT by T, I believe it's 10 or so years that they have been working, trying to level the playing field for women as well. These type of communities are great because what happens is that they will have the opportunity to come into contact with other women that have been there, that have been doing the same thing, that have changed careers, for example, that have changed technologies, that they learn new things. And I think that is important. It's more important now that we have cloud, as we talked the other day. Cloud computing offers great opportunities for women to work remotely, to not having to click in and click out of a job. And this also enables them to be able to take care of, I don't know, children or someone else in the household at the same time that they are working. And we can I think we can discuss also, we can talk a little bit about some of the roles that I have in mind.
Oh yeah, well, that's a wonderful bridge also to the roles, because once people start getting into the IT world, especially with cloud, they may be also overwhelmed by all the roles within the cloud environment or even outside, right? Analysts, architects, developers, cybersecurity specialists. There are probably 80, 90 different roles within the IT world. So what do you think would be the best starting point for someone who is keen to get into it?
Yes, and I have to go another disclaimer as well, that I watched your episode on the roles, on the IT roles as well, as preparation for this this podcast.
Awesome.
So I had a look at it, and yes, so let's focus on the cloud computing roles, right? So when you look at the cloud computing roles, there are multiple ones that will be a good fit for people who want to work remotely. It doesn't matter if they're male or female, but in special it could benefit the women population. For example, right, one of the first ones that shows up is the cloud uh, administrator, right? What is this? What is a cloud administrator? Right? So I will define it very very simple, right? So it's the first contact perhaps within the group or the company that wants to reach out and deploy workloads, IT servers or anything like that, into cloud. So this person will be tagged with, okay, I want to do the first definition of what is going to be out there, where to put it, things like choosing what region, with which cloud region I want to put these workloads, right? So there is multiple things that they can do. And the beauty of this is that those things are declarative, right? We're not talking about having to really code or script or anything like that, right? It's obvious that there is a lot of things that you can now code or script, because we are talking about cloud as a code. But initially, for smaller companies, for example, right, you can start very small, and you can start with a person who has this type of skills, right? So what they need is basically a good understanding of what is needed to start with a cloud initiative, right? Then we have cloud analytics, right? People that do data analytics and on the cloud. So that's another one that is very declarative in its inception. We are not talking about heavy coding, and AWS has very good tools now to be able to manage the data and do data wrangling if you want, right? And data enhancements and stuff like that, right? So there are all these good tools, right? One I can mention one, like for example QuickSight, right? Obviously, let's do the mentioning here as well. QuickSight is a good one for type of data analytics, business intelligence, right? And again, very declarative in its way of handling the definitions, right? Then furthermore, right, so we continue, then we have cloud networking administrators, right? So is this a person who needs to be able to, I don't know, develop or define scripts and programs to do something with networking? No, this is a person who really needs to understand what are the key points for handling the networking in between your company and the VPC. Let's call it the VPC. It's the virtual private cloud on AWS, right? Which is your entry point. And they would be able to, in a declarative way as well, go there and define it. They will be able to monitor what is the activity, right, on the network. They will be able to troubleshoot stuff, right? So those are some of the roles that I can see. We can also look into security administrator. It might require a little bit deeper understanding of IT or computer science before getting into the role. But again, it's another cloud, let's say, cloud specific role that is out there with cloud security administrator. And again, we have tools to help with this. And then we still have developers, right? So we can still go with the developers, but I don't know if you notice now, this is a good trend lately on the low code, no code area, right? So I don't know if you've heard this. It's all over the place, like low code, no code, low code, no code. And for example, we have tools that now require very, very little coding, right? I can give you, for example, an almost no-code tool for generative AI right now that we are using is Party Rock. That's the name of the tool. There is declaration only, again. It's just declarative. There is no real coding behind the scenes. So all these roles and tools help with getting rid of the, I will say, the misnomer before that we were, if you were doing computer science or if you were doing cloud, you had to be a developer, right? Or you had to be a developer first and then you can move into cloud. That's absolutely not true these days, right? You can really start with very little knowledge of coding in this case, or even little knowledge of computer science, and then build up, right? Because we all are now involved with computers now, right? We all hear about I don't know, search engine optimization, for example, right? With Google, we all know about databases now. We all know about websites and servers, right? Because anyone can go out and have a website these days. So that I would say that those pillars of computer science that only computer scientists knew before, right? Now almost everybody knows about it. Right? All the children, right? They're born in the cloud now, right? Born with a cell phone, a mobile, that they can have all these apps. I don't know if you remember, right, when we started like with this build an app, right? Craziness, right? Everybody was just building apps, and again, everybody jumped into that and started building apps for the phones. Right? So it's a very interesting evolution, and I think we are at the same level now with the low code, no code for cloud. Right? Furthermore, I wanted to mention one more, right? Because this is so I will say so fresh, right, in our memories, and it's about generative AI, right? I couldn't go talking to you today without mentioning Gen AI, right? People get paid for that, right? Every time they mention Gen AI. So anyway, we do have a tool now that is Amazon Q, right, for Amazon Web Services. And Amazon Q is a tool that will help you with development. Not only helps you with doing the development, it helps you with optimization of your code, with troubleshooting the code, with documentation of the code, with learning about the code, right? If you don't know anything about that piece of code, you put it into the tool and the tool will explain you what it does, right? And also it will also help you using the test cases for it, right? So we are really making this huge jump where you don't have to know anything about Java, for example, right? And you get Amazon Q, and then that's it. You start basically looking at the code and doing even changes to the code, right? If necessary. So it's a different. I think it's a different world with these Gen AI based tools, right? And I think it's going to be great for people because now instead of focusing how you were, which language to choose, how to do that loop or how to do that if-then statement, now you can really focus on getting big ideas into the tool, right? How it's not about how to do it, but what to do now, right? What do you want to do? Where do you want to do it? But not anymore about the specifics of the technology.
It's just so inspiring to listen to all of these because just a year, 2 years ago, it was not even here, and now anyone can start using it almost for free, or the lower versions or not as powerful versions completely for free, which removes all the barriers. It's just really unbelievable. And you mentioned some interesting roles. I wrote them down, starting with cloud administrators or cloud analysts, which is really great. They can go through the training, they can learn how to do it. But then, based on your experience, what is next? I mean, people who have no experience, people who transition, they may struggle applying on jobs, on LinkedIn or somewhere, because usually employers are looking for people who have some proven experience, not just freshers who complete some online training. So, since you are in touch with all of these community members, have you seen some examples of people who are successful with the transition and then get some, I don't know, part-time job or some internship, or what are some other ways how to penetrate the IT market?
Yes, I've seen very I would say not few, but a lot of good cases, success cases in this realm. It's amazing. I read about a journalist. This person was a journalist, and then he became a developer, right? So it's a totally different game, right?
Wow.
I think what is happening also is that we really need, I will say, probably millions of people who are devoted to IT technologies, right? And with that, there is a lot of opportunity for what you call freshers or people who do not have a lot of experience in the field to jump into those positions, right? It's obvious that we have to go and look for entry-level positions, but it's also good to look at the fact that in many of those positions, like for example, if we pick just Gen AI again, right? You cannot be asking for 3 years of experience, right? You cannot be asking for 5 years of experience. Right? You might be asking for 1 year of experience in those areas. And I think that level of experience is really achievable by people investing their time, right? That would be probably my suggestion. Just invest your time. Go ahead and try to do a prototype. Try to do something with the available free tools that are out there, right? With, like, for example, with Party Rock, go and build an application, and then put it on your LinkedIn profile. So you build that Gen AI based application for, I don't know, reviewing resumes, for example, right? There is one out there like that. It's a real one. Try to invest some of that time. Things will not come from, just will not fall on your lap from anywhere. You have to pursue those things and pursue those initiatives and go and try to do something. There are also hackathons, right, out there. Like you can join a hackathon, but nobody's asking you, how many years of experience you had in a hackathon, right? Come up with a good idea. Try to implement it almost for free with the tools that are available, and then go out there. I think that I understand that puts the pressure on the person that wants to get hired, right? Or wants to change the career so far, but that would be my suggestion in those cases.
Awesome. Well, people can always, yeah.
Sorry, Michael. There are things like, for example, right? Yes, there are internships, right? There is a website out there for careers for Amazon Web Services, where you can go and just look for internships as well, right? But again, if you have an idea and you can implement that application or those concepts, just go out there and do it.
No, very cool. Well, people can always invest their time to get more experience. That's a great suggestion. Build some projects, list on their LinkedIn profile. Very cool, very cool. So speaking of LinkedIn profiles and recruiting in general, probably the last thing before we wrap it up, what do you think is the future of recruiting or future of recruiters as such? Like based on all of the generative AI and automation, like would you still see recruiters joining your meetups in the future, or do you think it will all be replaced by some recruiting AI tool?
I think can go both ways, right? So what I've seen here in the United States, if you let me put it this way: are we looking for volume, or are we looking for quality, right? Once we start looking for or talking about volume, then yes, some of those tools will be really prevalent. We will have to use them. There is no way around, and you need to basically weed out the resumes and get to the best ones that you think or the tool thinks, right? In this case, it's a problem with ethics as well, right? Because it's what the tool think, right? That is a good resume or a good candidate for the position. But then through all these meetups and all this personal experience and all these people that we know or we met through LinkedIn and so on, I think there is still a role for the recruiters to go that route. I think there's still good mining of resources that way, right? The so-called word of mouth, right? So a lot of people get positions or get hired because they knew someone, and they were well known in the community. They were active in the community, right? And I think that also still matters, right? Or will matter at least in the near future, right? I don't really see just Gen AI taking over the recruiting space, I can see it as a good helper. And I think that's the way how we are supposed to be embracing the technology. One of the things that I always talk about is like AI is not going to replace me, but someone using AI will, right? And there is a difference, a nuance there. So let's embrace the technology. Let's work with it. Let's understand the ethics of that technology, if there are any, and then let's move forward using the technology and understanding what are the limitations of that technology as well.
Awesome, wonderful. So there is still a career for us in recruiting. That's great, and the meetups are still here for us to join, which is great. AI will most likely not join those meetups, but we still can. That's great. So before we wrap it up, where can people find you online? Where can people connect with you and get in touch with you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. Go ahead and look my name, right? Wilfrido Solano at LinkedIn. I am a solutions architect for Amazon Web Services, and you will see me there. I think that's the best way to reach out. And you can also go to meetup.com, look the Slovak group, and then also there is a way of communication there as well to send personal messages, right? But LinkedIn, I think, is the best way.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'll also include the link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So thanks a lot for sharing all the tips, ideas, and career insights with fellow recruiters, but also people interested in getting into the IT world. So thank you, and I hope to see you soon again.
No, thank you again for the invitation.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers.